many years ago, more years than I care to admit, when I was leading my very first Bible study as an ordained person. I asked what I thought was sort of a safe, innocuous question by way of icebreaker. I said to the group that was gathered in, the classic Episcopal parlor room. Every Episcopal church has one. I said, so, what do you make of the Bible? Simple enough, right? Some people said, I really love the King James Version and the sort of Elizabethan language. It's so much more poetic. One woman said, I love the stories where we get a sense that Jesus was human. It helps me to relate to him more. Another person said, I love some of the images that are in the Bible. As the conversation wore on, folks got a little bolder. One person admitted, well, some of it's kind of boring. Have you read the book of Numbers? I mean, she's right. Another person said, some of it I just can't quite understand. And then there was this guy, he was probably in his 80s, and finally he blurted out, some of it just ticks me off. Fair enough. There was a little bit of a murmur in the room, because I think some people there felt like this guy was being a little rude to the new priest in town. And I have to tell you, I wasn't exactly sure what to say. And then in one of those experiences that convinces me there really is a Holy Spirit, I heard this whisper in my ear, and I heard come out of my mouth, well, would you like to say more about that? And he did. He said that he really objected to this notion of we've got to love our enemies and pray for them. He's like, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. And that got the ball rolling, because some people said, well, and what's this about if someone strikes you, turn the other cheek? Who would do that? And one woman actually objected to the gospel that Dante preached on just last Sunday about how many times should we forgive, 7 times 70. She's like, I'm not doing that. And people agreed. And I realized this new sort of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed priest, I realized that not all Episcopalians sort of embrace the teachings of the Bible happily. Which makes sense, to be honest. So today's scripture, today's lesson from Matthew, gives us another gospel story. That boy, if that old man were here, he would say, that really ticks me off. Because like so many stories, it challenges our assumptions, it sort of messes with what we think is fair, and it just doesn't seem right, does it? So let me start with a traditional understanding of Jesus' parable, where we've got the landowner and we've got the laborers and we've got what they're paid at the end. So traditional understanding is that the landowner is God and the laborers are people who come to follow Jesus, and the reward at the end is salvation. Those who sort of are hired later in the day refer to, the sinners and the folks who have kind of come to Jesus maybe later in their life, those who have needed to go through a conversion experience, or Gentiles, and so they come later and God receives them, God hires them. And the earliest hired, those who end up rumbling at the end of the story, those traditionally are seen as the Pharisees who kind of resented that these Johnny-come-latelys would get the same reward that they might get. So that's the traditional understanding of this parable. And it's all fine and good. We've got God, we've got conversion, we've got salvation. That's great. But recently I heard and read of another understanding. And I think what's powerful about this alternative interpretation is that it involves us. It challenges us. And frankly, it might leave some of us saying, well, that really ticks me off. So imagine that this gospel, this parable, it's a two-act play, right? With characters, with a couple of scenes, and then with some twists towards the end. So we've got the landowner, and then we've got these laborers. The scenes are the marketplace and the landowner's vineyard, right? The landowner gets up early in the morning for Act 1. The sun is rising. The landowner goes to the marketplace early and finds these laborers. We don't know much about the laborers. All we know is that they're there early in the marketplace. The landowner hires them. And then we also hear that he negotiates with them the usual daily wage, that which is right. Off they go to the vineyard. Great. But that's not the last of his hirings, is it? Because Jesus says that the landowner returns again to the marketplace at 9, at noon, at 3, and at 5. And each time he returns, there are more laborers there. And what do we know about these laborers? Not much. They're in the marketplace. They're standing there. They've got no work. Doesn't stop us from making assumptions. And if you're anything like people who have read this parable for generations and generations, you're probably making some of your own. Well, maybe these folks who were late to the marketplace, maybe they slept in a little bit, you know? Someone suggested after the 7:45, maybe they were a little bit hungover and their wives were like, go on, get to work. Maybe there's a Patriots game the night before. Maybe they were a little lazy. Some have even sort of read into the story that they were more elderly and infirm and not capable of doing this work. Those are all readings. Those are all assumptions. It's not in the parable. All we know in the parable is that they are there and they are standing idle. And in fact, what we hear when the landowner says to them, well, what are you doing here? They say, no one will hire us. The other stuff, that's all our read-in. They're standing idle and no one will hire us. There's nothing to suggest that they were lazy or lesser than the others. They're just not getting hired. Which begs two questions, I think, as we know that the landowner then hires them to send them off to work. There are two questions I think about this landowner as Act 1 comes to a close. For the first one is, so why does he keep on going back to the marketplace? Doesn't he have something better to do in his time? And the second one is this. Why is he hiring them? Keep that in mind as we go to the second act. Second act. The sun is set. The day's work is over, and the owner sends his manager to bring in the laborers and to give them their rewards or compensation at the end of the day. He says, first start with those hired 5. So the Johnny-come-latelys walk in, the manager gives them what? The usual daily wage. The full amount. Can you imagine? They must have walked out of there saying, yippee-yi-yay! Right? They got a full daily wage. By the way, that full daily wage, scholars believe that that was enough to feed a family for 3 to 6 days. That's a pretty good amount. Terrific. Out they go. The manager must have given those hired at 3 and at noon and 9 the same amount. And guess that because when those who are first hired come in, the manager pays them their reward, and what does he pay them? The full daily wage. No more, and no less. Cue the grumbling, right? They're grumbling, and let me just sort of do a little bit of a human psychology sidebar here at this moment. They're grumbling, and why are they grumbling? Has he not paid them what they agreed upon? I believe he has. Has he not paid them enough to feed their family for somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 6 days? I believe he has. Why aren't they going home filled with joy, ready to share with their family? Look, we're going to eat well. I got paid a full wage today. They're grumbling because they are comparing themselves to someone else. And suddenly, what they have isn't enough. Suddenly, they're filled with envy and with jealousy, and they're consumed by that. And rather than going home happy and satisfied after a good day's work, they're going home feeling not grateful, but ungrateful, in fact, feeling abused and ill-treated. What is it about the human psyche that moves us to compare our desserts with someone else? Because it never leads to a good ending, does it? It always leaves us feeling somehow poor, not blessed. Okay, end of psychological cycle. So back to the story. We've got these two questions. Why is the landowner going time and time again to the market? And why is he hiring them? And then we've got the third question, which is, and what's this about how he's paying them? I mean, in fairness, it doesn't make sense. And that's why they're grumbling. They're like, wait, you're paying these people who work so much less, who worked a full day, you're paying them the same amount? Why? And in the parable, the landowner says, what? I can't do what I choose to do with what is rightfully mine? What, are you jealous? Because I'm generous? You can imagine that those first hired went home kind of grumbling and a little bit with their tails between their legs, right? But why? Why do you pay them all the same? It doesn't seem fair. If we want to know the answers to any of these three questions, we don't pay for the parable. The drama's over. There's one final line to the parable or to the gospel story, and you should know scholars think that was kind of an add-on as Matthew was put together, that business about the first shall be last and the last shall be first. They don't believe that was original to Jesus' telling of the story. So whatever that was, we don't get an explanation to our question. And what we've got to do, what we're left with doing, is trying to figure out based upon other things that we've seen from Jesus. So what's this all about? Why is he going to the market? Why is he hiring everyone he's seeing? So look, my sense of Jesus is that he cares about the dignity of every human being. Isn't that throughout all the Gospels? His care about, his recognition that every human being has dignity? My sense of Jesus is that he was all about what was just. Isn't that also throughout all of his teaching? And my sense of Jesus, I should tell you also, is that he's constantly talking about what we do with our money. Cue the grumbling there. And so what's going on here, I think, is that the landowner is coming back because he sees these people standing idle. He recognizes the connection between work and dignity that makes up our personhood. He cares, he has compassion on them, he sees them, and he puts them to work. Because to stand by idle is no way to fully be who God has intended us to be. So this landowner, he cares, and he invites them to work. Well, what about the business of fair? That's not fair, right? To which I think Jesus would say, you're right, it's not fair. It's just. Because Jesus wasn't concerned about what was fair and equitable. Jesus was concerned about justice. Jesus was concerned that people be able to feed their families, that people be able to earn a livable wage. Jesus was concerned about those things. He lived in a world where there was an economy, where there were the haves and the have-nots. He lived in a world just like we live in today, where there was this tremendous income disparity. And Jesus spoke out about that because he believed that there was enough for everyone to feed their families. And so, you're right, it's not fair, but it's just. Does this story challenge our sensibilities? Does it sort of nudge at our assumptions? Does it even make a little voice inside of you say, this thing really ticks me off? Maybe so. But Jesus' parables were meant to unsettle us. Were meant to challenge us. And this one does just that. Look, maybe this is a simple, straightforward parable about God, about conversion, about redemption and salvation. And if it is, I am so grateful that God is generous with God's grace and with the invitation to salvation. Because God knows I need that kind of generosity. And I think most of us do. But I don't think that this is just about God and the kingdom of God. If it is, then we kind of get a free pass on this. If it is, then the only active agent here is God, and the only place that we're concerned about is someplace far away and abstract. It's heaven up there. The parables weren't only about God and about someplace somewhere else. The parables that Jesus told were also about us and about here and now and about the kingdom of God as it is to be born right here on our earth. And I think this parable is that way too. This parable invites us to see people who are standing idle. Invites us to care about the dignity of those people and to understand that work is interwoven with the fullness of one's personhood. To be concerned about a just wage, about the fact that there are people who go to bed hungry because they can't feed their families. This parable is about here and now. It's not just about the kingdom in heaven, and it's about us. It's not just about God. And I dare say, if we don't understand that, then I imagine that kind of ticks God off.